It's a phrase that is flogged to death, but when it comes to increasing your visibility online, content is really king. This week I'm joined by Matt Byrom, founder of WiseOwl, one of the world's market leaders in explainer videos, and he wants to talk about content versus advertising. What are the differences? Plus also how a startup company can leverage content to get free marketing, which is what we all want to do. Plus also, what exactly is a content island? All of that plus more coming up in today's episode of Create, Reach, Inspire. Hey, it's James from Create, Reach, Inspire. Today my guest is Matt Byrom, founder of 4040 Media, which includes WiseOwl and more recently Project.co. Hi Matt, how's it going?
Hey, yeah, I'm good, thanks. Appreciate you having me today.
No problem. I guess to start off with, just tell us about your background. How did you get into business?
Yeah, so I started 4040 Media, which is our business. It's our limited company 10 years ago, just past our 10-year milestone this month, October 2019. I was basically freelancing really for a couple of years, freelancing, creating websites for people, doing design for print and web as well. And, you know, I didn't really have much else of a direction apart from that. And then a couple of years in, I came across an opportunity, which was I saw that the value in creating short explainer videos. It was really just starting to come about as a medium at the time, really. And I created the WiseOwl brand, and then things just really grew for us, really. I hired one employee, which was actually my mum.
Really?
Yeah,
oh, right. Okay.
His first employee, yeah. So hired my mum, and that was really just to take care of admin while I was effectively doing every single part of selling and creating an explainer video.
So what would you say your trade is? By trade, are you a web designer, you're an animator? How did you kind of get involved in the internet in the beginnings, in the early days?
Yeah, a bit of a marketeer with a hand in design.
Right,
is probably
okay.
sort of, so a bit of a jack of all, really.
Yeah.
But in marketing's my real focus and interest, and I built the business on different parts of marketing, really.
Would you say that was the sort of contributed to your early success in terms of you knew how to sell a product online, you came up with a brand that, you know, filled a kind of gap in the market? Yeah,
I mean, I think from one point of view it's finding and seeing that gap, but from the other point of view it's actually being able to market it and sell it and actually make something of it, really. We got quite lucky at the time, or I got quite lucky at the time, in the fact that explainer videos weren't really around at the time too much, so it was really just a case of people who had heard about them or people who had wanted them, Googled for them. We bought some Google ads and we showed up, basically. So we were there when people wanted that, and you know, there wasn't much of a sales process from that at that time, really.
So now it's pretty easy sell in the early days.
At the early days it was embarrassingly easy to sell, because it was just a new product. We had the right product at the right time with the right mix, and it was an easy sell, and it's become harder and harder as time's gone on. People have come into the market from all over the world, and you know, we've just had to keep on top of our game to make sure that we're the people that other people want to buy from. And
how do you do that? What's been your approach to make sure that you sort of stay current? Because I mean, I think 8 years in internet terms is like a lifetime, isn't it? So
Oh, yeah, I mean, it really is. Effectively, what we do is just create a great product for a great price, and customer service for us is key. You know, we try and make sure that we really look after our customers. We don't just create videos, we actually make sure we understand what they want to achieve with the video, and then we just make sure that we look after them, create exactly what they want. Everything's custom made, so it's a bespoke product, exactly what they want, and we make sure that it does what they want as well.
So in terms of your different ventures, would you say that you're kind of running 3 companies? Would you say you're running one company with, you know, like 3 different funnels or 3 different brands?
Yeah, it's a bit confusing from the outside, but inside, yeah, it's they do overlap. We have common customers between the brands, but actually they are 3 effectively separate brands within our main limited company.
And how does the team work? Do you have different teams for each sort of part of the business?
Well, that's where we do actually get the efficiency of scale, really, is that we mix people between the brands. So although the brands are separate and customers are mostly separate, we have a little bit of overlap. The team internally work between the brands. So we're an internal marketing team, effectively. So yeah, it works really well for us.
It's interesting. There's a lot of comparables there with really the way I run my businesses as well. Although interestingly, I have actually develop them as two separate companies, and they both have their own payrolls, but then there is some overlap, which kind of, I think, sometimes causes a bit of confusion when you look at it from the outside. But everyone's working under the same roof on two separate products, but ultimately having things like marketing that understand both products and can kind of contribute content and sort of marketing strategy towards both brands really helps.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for us to have our internal team work on blog posts, work on videos for our brand, we create marketing adverts, we've recently just rebranded the whole of Wise Owl, so we've created a full website, we've created animated graphics, we've created testimonial videos. I mean, we create our own content, and we do everything for ourselves and our other brands as well.
That's all done in-house then?
Yeah, everything we do is in-house, yeah.
That brings me to the next question really, which is the content and the importance of it. Obviously you're a big advocate of content based on your businesses, but what do you think should be a kind of a company's approach to content and how they sell their services or products?
I think creating quality content that is useful. It has to be, from our point of view, we've actually got a set of guidelines that we actually work to, but one of the core things is that it has to be actionable. So I think when people look for content, you're searching for an answer to something, so you want to find something that helps you actually achieve something. And to do that, it's got to be not just informational to tell you about what you're looking for, but actually to give you takeaways so you can actually go ahead and action that piece of information. So for us, it's got to be high quality, it's got to be actionable, and it's got to be aimed towards that target market with, for us also, the search and the way that people are going to find that in mind.
Okay, and you have this concept which is called content islands, which I was interested to explore. So first of all, what is a content island? So
a content island is a group or a batch of content that has multiple different parts to it. So we have the island, which is effectively the lead gen piece, the big piece of content for an island. We then have a series of different feeder pieces of content. So as an example, say for example you created an ebook or a downloadable show, a downloadable course, something that people would actually trade their details for, not necessarily buy, but trade their details for. That would be your island piece of content. Then what you want to do is you want to promote that piece of content. So we call the pieces that you promote that piece of content with feeder content. So this could be blog posts, could be videos, could be a podcast, all sorts of different free pieces of content that actually feed traffic into that bigger piece of content. So if somebody reads a blog post on topic A, and then that would be your feeder piece of content, and then in that piece of content you mention that you've got an ultimate guide to topic A. That's then you driving traffic to your island piece. Okay. And then once the third piece of the content island is the nurture and support section, where once you've actually got that lead, you actually drip feed a series of other relevant content to those people to nurture them towards a sale, and then also nurture them post-sale as well. And the reason that we actually have created content islands is because lots of people create a blog post but forget that it's connected to an ebook, or they create an ebook and forget they actually need to drive traffic to it. So what we're trying to do is not say that you have to create content in batches of islands, but just remember to create lead generation content, traffic generation content, and nurture and support content as well, so that you've got that full content journey. And what would you say is the kind of the trick to this? What's the value in terms of the consumers, and why is it important that businesses are actually using content versus just sort of running adverts, for example, and sending cold traffic to a sales page? Well, there's no reason that people should just do one or the other, but I would be an advocate of doing both, because I think if you create content, then you have the opportunity to generate free traffic. Once the content's paid for example, you could get traffic through SEO, but then also you might want to top that up with advertising revenue and put some advertising dollars behind it, and actually generate even more traffic, even more leads, even more sales. So I think both have got to work hand in hand, really. What would you say to a business that maybe, their early days, they don't want to spend a fortune on content, or it sounds, what you've just described sounds very, expensive potentially, because you've got to suddenly create all of this stuff, videos and blog posts, and, there's a massive time there. What would you say to a business that kind of can't see the value? How can that be used to turn it into profit? Yeah, I mean, I would say start small. So if you work on creating a really good blog post that you've done your keyword research for, you've looked in the market to find out what other people are creating content in that area, so that you know that you can create a piece of content that's better than it. So you've got a good blog article that you know is likely to do quite well. You can promote that through social. You can put some advertising money behind it, but make sure you've got some way to convert those people as well. And this is why I say, so you've got the traffic generation content in the blog post.
Yeah.
If you've got a way to convert people, it might be that they subscribe, it might be that you've got a free course, it might be that you've got a downloadable of that piece of content, it might be that you've got the blog post might explain 10 ways to do something, but then in your bigger piece of content, you go more in depth in those 10 ways, or you've got 10 more ways, 20 more ways, for example, to do something. It's like, can you go one step further and give people more value on a similar topic so that they can extend their content journey with you? So it doesn't necessarily need to be that people create tens or hundreds even of pieces of content. It can just be that you've got a piece of traffic generation content that leads on to a lead gen piece of content, and then you can nurture and support people by, doesn't even necessarily need to be through big pieces of content. It could be through small emails, follow-up sequences, a phone call. It's just about thinking about the journey that person's going to take with you.
Yeah, I always think it's just about really also like drilling down on what your potential customers or your audience really, really want, like what's important to them, what problems do they have. And if you can kind of offer a solution to those issues, certainly if you can offer it for free, that makes a good, successful bit of content.
Yeah.
And then also there's no harm in repurposing stuff as well.
Yeah.
So like recently, we have a lead magnet, which is just exactly as you've described, called the podcast.co blueprint. And it's basically, an ebook, quite detailed actually, that goes into how to start a podcast, what equipment you need to buy, all sorts of stuff, how to script it, things to consider when you're getting reviews, etc. And one of the things we did was we actually just turned that and turned it into an actual physical book that we've then sold on Amazon under a different name. We've done a bit of editing, we've added a bit to it, but like largely the structure's the same. And it's amazing the amount of good feedback we've had about that, because I think sometimes people actually like buying a physical book, and it's something that we've never done before. We've always focused just on virtual content, if you like, or e-goods. But having a physical product that you're actually selling is something that's an interesting thing to try.
Yeah. Strange you mention. I mean, we're actually working on a book at the moment. I'm writing a book at the moment, which is we haven't got a title for it, okay. So that's the opportunity for a plug is over.
But how about just content islands? There we go.
Well, it's going to include the concept of content islands in there, but actually what it does is it goes into more detail about how to use content to really have success. And a lot of people create content because they feel the need to create content, but there's no real single, as you say, blueprint to actually guide people as to how to create successful content. So what we've done is we had an issue. One of the questions that you said you might mention before this podcast is that what issues have you come into as a business? And one of our issues is actually that we were stuck at one point. We were like, right, we've got 5,000 organic visits a month. Might be good to some people and really rubbish to other people, but that's what we had. We had 5,000 organic visits a month to our blog. And we got stuck at that point and we were like, how can we actually push past 5,000 visits a month? It seemed like we had quality content, and that's my opinion, but visit the site, you would think we feel like we've got really good quality content that we create and put a lot of passion into. We had a well set up website, but we just couldn't past this 5,000 per month barrier, and we just weren't getting past it. So we actually did a bunch of things. We worked with a few SEO experts. We focused a bit more on it internally, and we came up with the reasons and the strategy that we actually had to use to actually make this happen. So over the last, since June 2018 to now, so just under a year and a half, we've gone from 5,000 visits consistently to we're up to 80,000 organic search visits per month now, over 100,000 visits total from other sources as well. And we found effectively the secret sauce. We found the way to actually make that happen through creating content, through finding the opportunities, through getting the search traffic, and making that work from a technical point of view on our website as well. So not necessarily that we want to sort of...
How would you say that it's changed? Content strategy has changed, and what have you done then specifically to kind of increase footfall? Yeah,
so I feel like the knowledge is a bit hazy out there, really. So people say one thing, people say another thing. Focus on creating good quality content is one thing. You could say create an article a month of really good quality. Some people say create an article a day, just knock them out and see what works. What we found is actually that the success is actually in the planning. So what we do is we do our keyword research. We find out what keywords that people are searching for. Then most importantly, we actually look for what the competition are doing. So we actually look at the Google search results. We find out what other types of content are in the top 10. We work out what the possible opportunities are in that top 10. So we say, okay, well, there's 10 here. 3 of them are really good. One of them is exceptional, and a few of them are missing in some media. They're not very long. They don't have many quotes. They don't have much data. And we look for the opportunities to actually excel in that top 10. So we know before we actually even put pen to paper and create any content or video or blog post or what have you, we know what search terms we should come up for and what we need to do to be in that top 10. So we can almost predict the traffic that we're going to get with any piece of content because we know what search volume it gets, and we know roughly where we should appear in that top 10 over a period of time.
So really it's just about being organised, having a plan, having a strategy before you start thinking, right, I'm just going to write a blog post on this, or I'm going to record a video on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And
doing your research.
Yeah, and from there, if we know that people are searching for a topic, and we know that we could perhaps appear in the short term in position 8, in the long term position 3, maybe 1 even, then we know what our opportunity is for that piece of content and what we actually need to do to get there. Do we need to create a blog post with 3,000 words that has lots of unique data in it, or do we just need to have a list post? Because there's all different types of content out there as well, so we know what we need to do to get there.
What do you think, having done the research and everything, the sort of process you've been through over the past year, what's your opinion on backlinks in terms of SEO at the moment? Do you think they're as important as they used to be? Do you think they're still important?
For me, it's still one of the most important things, really.
Right.
We also spend a lot of time to generate backlinks, but we don't actually do any outreach at all. I mean, I think in the early days of a business, so for example, you mentioned earlier in this episode that we recently launched project.co, which is our software as a service project management system. Yep. So that's a new website whereas WiseOwl is coming up to 9 years old, project.co is effectively brand new. So for that website, we're going to have to spend a lot of time generating new links.
What's your approach to that going to be?
Yeah, for us, it's not about going and bribing people and trying to beg for links. Really, what we do through WiseOwl and what we find is most effective is to create content that people want to link to. And for us, that type of content is often data related. So if we've got some unique data that people will link to, so through WiseOwl, for example, we do the State of Video Marketing survey every year. We're coming up to our 6th year this year doing it, and every year we get links from BBC, Forbes, Entrepreneur magazine, all sorts of Huffington Post, really big websites, because they're citing some of our data in their posts. It's data that people want to link to. So with project.co, we've just completed a survey, a piece of research which looks into communication. So it's all about the state of communication at work, how people communicate, in what ways, what's holding them back, how effective are they in meetings, what systems do they use to manage their business, their projects, their clients, and we can share that data with the world, and then people will hopefully want to link to it, which is naturally linked content effectively.
Yeah, that's really good advice, and one actionable thing that any business I think can go and implement is actually building data-related articles or videos, I see what you mean when you say it's linkable, because that's the thing, and also I suppose the benefit is it's positioning you as an authority in the marketplace, and if you get a backlink from Forbes or something, that's really valuable. Yeah,
absolutely, and we always say to people, create content that people would want to link to. There's the market's flooded these days with people saying, I've created this article, will you link to it? And for me, I usually always ignore those emails because I get 10 of them a day. So will most other people in marketing. So it's kind of just like I don't feel that that's a legitimate way to get links these days. I think you've got to create content that's link worthy, get it into places that people will find it.
Hey, so if you're enjoying this week's episode of Create, Reach, Inspire, but perhaps you want some additional information, behind the scenes clips, all of that is available over on my LinkedIn and also on my Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram, it's at Create, Reach, Inspire, and you can search for me on LinkedIn at James Mulvaney. Please connect with me and check out the additional content I'm posting on there each and every day about running successful businesses, marketing and scaling businesses, growing your audience and all that good stuff, plus also tips on personal branding as well. So you can follow me on Instagram, it's at Create, Reach, Inspire, and search for me on LinkedIn, James Mulvaney. Please connect with me over there. All right, having said that, let's get back to this week's episode. Right, let's move on and talk about your new project then, project.co. Obviously, the first question I've got for you, as someone who owns 2 businesses ending in .co, is why the name?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a straightforward thing about just trying to write down a bunch of different options, opportunities, Googling on a domain tool, what's available, what's not available, what can we have. And, I found project.co. It was actually, it wasn't actually freely available. We bought it from somebody.
Yeah, this is the same my process I went through. I suppose you probably paid a fair bit for it.
Yeah, I think not huge. It was a few thousand, I think. But actually, to get a nice domain like project.co for a project management tool, we found it.
It's good, and it does what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, that was my approach to branding when I went after radio.co and podcast.co. And podcast.co felt like it naturally had to follow that path. Yeah. So we ended up spending quite a lot of money on that domain name. But yeah, it's really simple in their sort of their message, I guess. So this is, first of all, just explain what project.co is, what the tool does.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little backstory on it. When I created Wise Owl, coming up to 9 years ago, effectively, as I said, I hired my mum to start with. She started doing some admin. It was all by email, but very quickly then we hired two animators, then a designer, then a copywriter. And then it was like, oh, wow, we're overwhelmed a little bit in email here because our clients have a team. There's a few people on their team. They're messaging our admin, they're messaging our copywriters, designers, animators. And soon, even with just a few clients at the start, things quickly become a little bit disorganized. So we started on the hunt for a project management system. There was a few out there at the time, quite a few, Basecamp and others. Some of the big boys from our time now, Monday and Asana and things weren't quite out there or at this point yet. But
this was back in 2011, around
2011.
Then?
Yeah, that's
I'm trying to think what we used to use back then. I think we used Basecamp for a while, and then there was a thing called Freedcamp, which is like a free version of Basecamp. So obviously that's when you started working on it, and you built that in-house presumably as well, did you?
Yeah, so what we did is we actually said, okay, well, there's nothing that does exactly what we want at the time, and what we really wanted is something that we can keep track of our tasks. So we say, okay, the design's got to be done by then. The clients can log in and see that, but the clients have also got like a news feed, so it's like a Facebook news feed effectively. They can chat, we can chat, everyone's hooked into the same project. So each project is effectively a discussion, a notes section, tasks, payments, and we manage everything from in that project management system. So we decided to build that internally so that we could work with our customers on the way that we wanted to work with them.
And presumably with video, that's built into the platform as well. You can share links to sort of previews of the videos you're creating. Yeah,
absolutely. So you can share Wistia YouTube videos, but you can also link to other video tools in there as well. Yeah.
And then at what stage? Because it strikes me as a long time, like 8 years in development, to then decide, right, okay, let's go and push this out to something that someone else can go and use. What led to that decision?
Yeah, it's not quite an overnight success there, is it, or an overnight decision?
I guess was it quite primitive in the early days, and is it one of these things where you sort of build it and you think, well, no one else is really going to understand this because it suits our workflow? Have you had to adapt it to sort of how you think other agencies work? Or
100%. So basically, we developed it for a few years to where it worked really well for us, and then we didn't really do much on it for about 3 years or so.
Okay.
It just worked for us, and then actually a couple of years ago we decided, okay, this is something that we want to explore. We want to adapt this, and we redeveloped it for commercial use for other businesses to use. And then what we've done is over the last year we've had that out in beta, in pre-launch and in launch, and we've just got lots and lots of people using it. So we now have 3,500 accounts on the system. We did a promotion with AppSumo actually a couple of months ago, so we have about 1,500 paid accounts on there, and what that's really helped us do is not necessarily get lots of monthly recurring revenue, because we're just not really quite there with it yet. We're just at the stage of just about to launch into our fully normal price system, or we have actually launched. But what it's really helped us do is get lots of customer feedback. So people saying, I like the task, I wish I could do this, or does it work in this way, does it work in that way? And you've got to take some of these with a pinch of salt, but what we do is we gather lots and lots of customer feedback, and we've seen what the common threads are, and we've just developed in those directions. So the system has evolved and evolved and evolved over the last year, and it's, I feel, at a really fantastic point at the moment. And
so like a mature product, something that you kind of trust, people are going to trust when you then start saying, right, let's ask for some money, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think you have to go on that journey. Or I'm new into SaaS, but I feel that to get to that point, we should really take a bit of time so that you can actually understand how people use it. There's that lean methodology of building something and adding to it over time, and I feel that's really what we've done. We've had almost an MVP out there, and we've added to it over time as people have fed back and people have said, okay, this is great, but it's a bit primitive at the moment.
So it's quite an exciting time for you. Obviously you've kind of launched your pricing model. What would you say is most exciting about the next year that lies ahead of you, in this new venture? What do you think? How do you see it going over the next year? Yeah,
we're really excited. I mean, we have a really straightforward pricing model. Is £5 per user. So it means that we have a free account for up to 3 users. So you can use it free forever. It's freemium models, free forever. No limits on the features, but you're just limited by the amount of users and storage that you get. And then for a paid account, it's £5 per user. So we feel it's quite simple for people to grasp hold of and to get started with. And we're really excited to connect with customers, to understand how they use the software, understand how we can develop the software. And we're not really precious about how it develops. We want to develop in the right way for our user base. So I think if we listen and develop in the direction that we're being informed, then I hope we have a really strong product in the future.
And interesting, you mentioned the pricing in pound. Are you focusing on a UK market to begin with then, or?
Well, on our pricing page, we've priced it in pounds, but put the conversion in dollars and euros as well. Right. Through WiseOwl, we actually work with US more than UK, so there's no really reason for us to focus on the UK market.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting because this is the thing. I've always, about half of our customer base is in the USA. Yeah. Obviously, we're based in the UK. We've got a sales rep out in the US who does sort of a lot of product demos and onboarding and that kind of stuff. But that's mainly due to time zone differences, really. But actually, that's the beauty of running a SaaS style business, is you could be based anywhere, and sell to any market. But it'd be interesting to see, like, if who do you think your main market is? Do you think it is going to be agencies in the US, or? Yeah.
I mean, I expect so at the moment. It's where we're sort of focused, is the creative community, but we'll see. I mean, at the moment, our data is telling us we have over 100 accounts in over 100 different countries, which is quite incredible already, but we'll see how that grows and in what numbers in what countries.
And what would you say your main challenges are at the moment?
Main challenge is really getting our marketing engine running, acquisition, onboarding, trying to make sure that we don't get people who start a plan, then actually churn. So, every part of the SaaS funnel is our challenge at the moment.
Okay, yeah. Well, but then I think, given your kind of pedigree in marketing and content creation, I'd say you're probably quite far ahead in that terms of side of stuff. When you look at most SaaS founders and they're starting a business, quite often because they've just spotted an opportunity or a gap in the market, but actually they've never run a business before. Perhaps they haven't been involved in content marketing. So I think that will kind of certainly give you a bit of a leg up. Yeah,
I hope so. We've got a fantastic team internally. Yeah. So we've got a team of 24 people, all based around copy, design, animation. So really, we can create and push our own content quickly, high quality, because we own every part of it. So we're hoping to have be able to get that leg up really, but that's yet to be seen. I think there's no silver bullet really. But
no, it's true, and ultimately it does take time.
It takes time.
Building a site's authority, that sort of thing. You've got to give it sometimes a year, 2 years before you really start hitting the top rankings in Google for stuff. Just because Google doesn't like a site that's just sprawling up. But I think that the fact you've been going through this beta phase is kind of going to give you a helping hand there. Okay, so in terms of let's just finish up here. So what have we got? We'll talk about your podcast, and then also, do you want to just go through? Yeah, let's just do some quick fire stuff. So, what would you say your top 3 traits are of a good entrepreneur?
Oh, good question. I think dedication is important. I think it was one of your commandments from the first episode of this podcast as well, which is, you said perseverance.
Perseverance, exactly.
But I think dedication is similar, but you've got to be committed. You've got to be dedicated and persevere, because things take time.
Yeah.
Secondly, hard work. You've got to be prepared to put in the hard work. When you start a business, it's not a 9 to 5. It's not, the people that say, I work 3 hours a day and what have you, that might be possible. But from my experience, it takes a lot of hard work to build brand, team, make sure you're getting good customers on board and that things are working effectively. And lastly is adaptability to change. I don't know many business owners who say that they've not been through a period of change, or they've had to pivot, or gone through a period of change in their business. So adaptability has got to be another strong trait of an entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
At least the ability to not get flustered when things don't go quite your way, and you've got to change. You've got to see that vision, and you've got to be able to actually see something through.
Good advice. And what would you say the best of business advice you've ever received has been?
Yeah, it comes back to something that I just mentioned then, really, and it's not necessarily from a single person, but probably from lots of people. I get told it fairly often, is that things take time. It's this perseverance thing again.
Yeah.
You've got to. I'm a bit overly ambitious sometimes, and you think, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I can't see how this can fail. If I do this, then this will work. But it just takes longer than you expect.
Sometimes it doesn't. Exactly.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes things take longer, and you've just got to have that ability to be resilient and persevere.
All right, and finally, you've got your own podcast as well.
Yes, I did.
First of all, I just wanted to find out what you wanted to achieve out of doing a podcast, and why you got into the space.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody wants to look for it, it's called the Marketing Strategies Podcast by Matt Byrom, me.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It was a bit of a business opportunity to say, I'd like to sort of grow my network a little bit, but it was also from a selfish point of view, where I just wanted to speak to some really interesting people and just mine their knowledge a little bit. So the Marketing Strategies Podcast is all about the marketing strategies that businesses use to grow. It's mostly successful businesses that people will have heard of, and it's about understanding what levers have they used to grow, what have been the main growth mechanisms that they've had. So we spoke with people like Revolut, Spotify, Uber, Skyscanner, and it's like talking to these businesses and saying, what have been the marketing channels that they've used to grow most effectively, what have been their biggest successes, and how have they grown their businesses, what have they seen that's worked most. And I think we can just take some lessons from that.
Okay, and what's been you've had some big names on board. What's been your approach to actually booking these kind of guests in?
Yeah, I get asked that quite often actually, and you know, there's no difficulty to it really. I've just said I've got a podcast. Yeah. I'd love to take an hour of your time to actually speak with you. I connect with them because I don't unfortunately manage to get people in the same room often like you do, but I actually do it online, and we connect into a tool and just say, yeah, this is going to take an hour. I'd love to chat to you, and most people have been quite responsive to that.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. If someone wants to, follow you on social media, find out about your business, how can they do that?
Yeah, please check us out on the web, Wyzowl, which is spelled WYZOWL. We create explainer videos. We created over 3,000 videos for people all over the world, and also Google project.co. Straightforward.
It's just like podcast.co,
just like
but with a project.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much for your time, Matt. It's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much. Thanks for the time.
So thanks for listening to this week's episode. To get the latest episode directly to your favourite podcast app, please remember to subscribe to the podcast. Just search for it on Spotify or Apple Music. We're on all of the major podcast platforms and apps. Did you know you can also follow me on Instagram at Create Reach Inspire for lots of latest information and tips and tricks, plus also behind the scenes content of making this podcast. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please remember to hit that like button and write us a review, or if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn at James Mulvaney. Thanks for watching, take care, and have a great day.